What the hell is even that?
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
We are back live on a Thursday evening. I am joined, as always, by Dr. Jared Johnson. Matt Kirby, good to see you. Darren May, good to see you. Penny Neer, welcome to the podcast here. Look, we got a handful of things that we're going to talk about. Some are going to be Michigan-related, Michigan football, Michigan sports. But before we went live, Jared, we were talking about trading cards. We were talking about your love life, your spending habits on things that you've recently purchased. I mean, we were covering it all, and I said, why are we talking about this now? We should be talking about it on the podcast.
Share it with the people.
Podcast. I think a good place to start is the same place we started last week. Again, I don't know why we live in the state of Michigan. If somebody out there could help me figure out, I get it if you're born here and your family's here and you've got like connections here and your kids are in school here and there's all that going on. But when you strip all of that away, like
everything that matters. That way.
Sure. Take away all the things that matter, and I'm just talking about geographically speaking. I get it. No. Like in the summertime, it's great. The fall it's not bad. Here's Matt Kirby. I mean, again, living out, I think Southern California, 78 degrees for Matt Kirby out there. For the last 2 weeks, we have been single digits. If not in the negatives, my kids at least have had school canceled multiple times. I've got one that's just on the tail end of the flu. The other one's just now beginning the flu process. We're locked in. We're all getting cabin fever. Like, I don't know what people do around here in the winter. It's just miserable, Jared. And I've talked to you. I mean, I was texting you about this.
Yeah.
You can see my wife. Look at, she's ready. Yeah. We've been having conversations. This isn't just like joking around conversations. These are serious conversations.
You sent me a picture of where you want to go, and I was like, this dumbass sent me an AI photo. And then I see your wife in the background, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's a real place? You're like, that's my favorite place. Yeah, you should go there. I will come visit you there at any time.
That's what I'm thinking.
Do the pod from a beach.
Do the podcast from a beach. I can be in one of those like banana hammock, type things, I'd get my body right, because that's the other thing, man. I've been hitting the gym pretty hard here over the last 2 days, and I'm not seeing results quite yet. It's tough.
Oh, dude, it's that third day. That's the one. You're almost there, man. That third day.
Third day. Listen, this is a real story. This really happened to me. So yesterday, I'm like, fuck, I got to get back in the habit. I got to go back to the gym. And I went to the gym, and I was on the treadmill for 35 minutes or so. And then I had to stop at Meijer on the way home to get some groceries. So I picked up some things on the way home. I saw the Oreos on the way out, and I'm like, maybe for like a kind of a snack here, I can eat them. The kids can eat them, whatever. I tore the box open in the car on the drive home, and I ate about 22 Oreos. I spent most of last night sleeping. So
were you like crying while you were driving, eating Oreos? Like, oh,
I did. I had to confess to my wife. I mean, she can admit to it. It really happened. I confessed to her what I did. And
were they double stuffed or single?
They were double stuffed. They were the big bowls.
Yeah. You ever had the double stuffed golden ones, the golden Oreos?
No.
Dude, I don't hate those. Do you remember the Oreo straws?
No.
Dude, no. They made an Oreo in the shape of like that thin wafer. It had chocolate inside, and it was a straw.
Like your milk?
Milk.
Yeah, that's bad news. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I can't keep sweets in the house because I have no self-control. That's the problem. Like, I don't have any self-control over this stuff. CJ says that's why you work out, so you can.
Tony just says, damn, bro. Like, you might have diabetes right now. That's
CJ I might lose a foot here soon. CJ says that's why you work out, bro. You got to treat yourself.
Break even, baby.
I mean, treating yourself is important, but housing an entire sleeve of Oreos by yourself in the car, it just felt like a low point.
That's just embarrassing.
Especially right after the gym. Like and so I had to go back today. And again, I'm not really seeing any results yet, but I hope that those
me either, but
those results will come. You're a gym guy though. You go every day.
Yeah, right? But I don't see results from you. Nope, I haven't noticed any change. I'm just me motivating you. Didn't work. Opposite effect. All right, my bad.
Oh boy, where should we start tonight? I mean, we're hemorrhaging viewers already because they've tuned in and they're like, "What the fuck are these guys talking about?" We've got Michigan football. The schedule came out recently. We've got Michigan basketball. There's some things that are happening there. Obviously, a big week with the basketball program. Jared, where do you think a good place to start is? Do you want to go Michigan football first?
I mean, it's a football podcast, but I think that what's the biggest story if you're a Michigan fan? I think it's the basketball. But
yeah, we can. Well, let's start basketball because obviously there was a big game in Ann Arbor this week. Michigan knocking down undefeated Nebraska at the Chrysler Center. It was an incredible game to me. It was, and I've seen a lot of this, Jared. We've talked about it. That I think the general sense around this team is that. Because they're not winning by an average of like 32 points per game, that people are like freaking out. They think Michigan fell off a little bit. I don't know, man. I watched two teams on Tuesday night. I watched two teams battle, two of the top teams in the conference battle. I thought it was an incredible game. And Michigan, outside of like an early lead, they were having to fight their way back into it the entire game. And credit Nebraska, and we were texting back and forth during the game. They've got some shooters. They've got some bucket getters. It's not just like a bunch of hillbilly rednecks out there.
I was a little surprised.
Basketball team out there, and that was a really good team that Michigan had to battle the entire way through to come back and beat at the end. I was a little bit surprised to see Nebraska fans at the end of it having such an issue with the way the game was called. Obviously, a big discrepancy in the amount of free throws that were attempted. I think Nebraska had 4. Michigan had like 23 or 24 free throw attempts. But again,
they weren't attacking the basket. Like, right. You got to go to the hoop. You can't. You're going to get fouled shooting 33s.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they were banging their threes.
Yeah, I mean they were hitting a lot of shots from the outside, but I think they had almost as many points in the paint, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, I mean, Jared, as you were sitting back and you were watching this team, and again, this is one of those games where you really figure out where does Michigan fit in the hierarchy, not just of the Big Ten, but in the entire country. Like, can this team really legitimately compete for a championship? I mean, what were your biggest takeaways?
I mean, I think Darren talks about, just mentioned it in the comments, that turnovers. It was surprising to me that you're playing a team that. I mean, I didn't realize how good Nebraska was. I knew they had wins. They were 20-0. I got that. But just watching them come out and shoot and the sets they were running, Hoiberg was running some incredible sets. Like, dudes were wide open. I mean, wide open layups, wide open threes. Like, their offensive the fluidness of that offense was incredible to watch. And then, we have a bunch of turnovers. We look like shit, and you still win the game. Like, that's what I got. A team that's going to win a championship needs to win games like that, right? And Michigan found a way to win, and it also felt like they were comfortable the whole game, even when Nebraska was just balling out, hitting 3 after 3 in that first half. Homeboy had like 7 threes, and they were like, "Meh," you know what I mean? They just we're good, we got this, and then they came out and won the game. And McKinney's a beast, a freshman to take that shot. Some people are saying it was a charge. I don't think it was. I think it was a perfect no call by the ref because it was so close. So you look at one angle, it looks like
I think that has to be a no call in that situation. Exactly. I don't think
for the game, like, that's just like a last second shot. They ain't calling a foul. You know what I mean? That was a game changer right there. So yeah, I came off impressed. I mean, what'd you think? You were definitely impressed with Nebraska's shooters. We were texting like every time I moved, they were hitting a 3. It was wild.
Yeah, that was just obviously they caught fire in the first half from 3-point range. They finished the game 11 out of 32. Michigan 6 of 26 from 3-point range. Nebraska didn't shoot like amazing from beyond the arc, 34%. Michigan was struggling, 23% from beyond the arc. But I think the saving grace for the Wolverines, again, you talk about that free throw discrepancy. Nebraska was 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Michigan 19 of 23 from the free throw line. So obviously that helped the Wolverines get back in it. But I think you make a good point, man, that it never seemed like Nebraska was hitting big shot after big shot. And you're right, the plays that they were drawing up, the way that they were getting people open, you could just tell that this was a well-coached basketball team and they were hitting all the big shots. But at no point in time did it ever genuinely feel like Michigan was going to be out of that game. And then to watch them crawl back in the second half and then ultimately come out on top and win it, I thought was It was impressive because you're going to have to win games like that along the way, right? If you're going to have an amazing season, not everything's going to continue the way that it looked for the first 3-4 weeks of the season, where you're watching Michigan just beat the shit out of
people.
Right. Like sometimes the wins are going to come ugly. But I didn't even view it as an ugly win, man. I thought this was two really good basketball teams that were just battling back and forth. And when you see something like that happen, you always want to be the team that comes out on top, and to see Michigan do that, I think it adds to this, this belief that they can go far, because you're going to have to win games like that as well. I guess the biggest concern or question mark I have, and I've seen some people bring it up in the comment section, about Yaks needing to get out of a slump, kind of Michigan basketball in general being in a slump. The one thing that stuck with me against Nebraska was I just don't know. Like, we know Nebraska had some dudes that could score, some guys that can go and get a bucket. Like, who are those guys for Michigan at this point in the season? Like, I don't know that there's a guy that you can put the ball in his hands, you can clear it out, and he can take somebody off the dribble, and he's a guaranteed bucket. I think Michigan plays a great brand of basketball where it is truly a team game, but I don't know that they've got a guy on the roster that's really established himself as like the guy, the bucket getter. Am I missing it, or is there somebody you see in that role?
No, I certainly think it's Yaks. I mean, he's the guy they go to. But what you nailed it, though. They're such a complete team. Like they were talking about in Nebraska, some of the announcers were talking about McKinney. You know what I mean? He'd be starting on most teams, like straight starting, starring. He could be the guy on a lot of teams. And Michigan, he's coming off the bench. That's how deep they are. You know what I mean? Namari Burnett gets hot. Like Will Cheddar comes in, bangs a couple threes. Now, I don't think Cheddar would be one of those guys that's going to shoot the game winner, but the thing is, they go to the hot man, right? Like, it's crazy. Cadeau, coming off the dribble with Cadeau, dribbling. Like, they got so many guys, and that's a huge part of college basketball winning too, right? Because if you have one guy and he goes cold, that's a wrap. You're done. Right. You know what I mean? Michigan has one guy go cold. There's 7 other guys looking. I'm next.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen games where Johnson scores 27. We've seen games when McKinney scores 22. Yeah, scores 30. Like, it's all over the place. I don't know how you defend it.
Yeah, and CJ makes a good point. He says McKinney is working his way to becoming that guy. Excited to see what he looks like in the tournament. I agree. I mean, as a true freshman, taking big shots. I mean, McKinney is a guy that I think, time and time again is proving that, he can not just play at this level, but excel at this level. And he's a guy that Michigan can truly rely on. But maybe that is a product of just the fact that they have so many of those guys. You get used to, like, you've got 1 or 2 guys on the roster that are the guys that are going to carry the load. And maybe that's just a testament to how this team is built, where they've got a number of guys on any given night that can do it. It does seem like Yaks has been in a bit of a slump, I guess, over the last handful of games here. I know he's been working through an injury, at least working his way back from an injury. I don't know how much is contributing to that. But again, like overall, when I look at, yes, the turnovers are a problem. And there's some times where Michigan, I feel like, is playing a little bit too fast, where it seems like they're rushing things and they want to play a certain type of pace that it feels like, I get that you want to do it, but it doesn't always necessarily call for it. So there are some of those things that you see from time to time. But at the end of the day, to me, again, I just think this is a solid team from top to bottom. And if you're going into tournament play and you're picking sort of, who's a team that you want to, you're a gambling guy. You're a guy that, likes to, dabble, I guess. If you're going to put all your chips in the middle on one team, to me, Michigan is got to be up there with
Michigan, Arizona,
many other teams that you're going to put all the chips in other than Michigan, Arizona, some of the teams like that. But I guess, do you find yourself feeling concerned at all that some of these games have been closer and that Michigan really isn't blowing opponents out anymore? Or do you think this is just a byproduct? Welcome to conference play in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Welcome to conference play. 1, 2. Let's compare this team to last year. It's a brand new team. So all these teams you're playing against have no tape. They have no film to study, right? They're studying as the season progresses. So now Michigan's got 20 games worth of film that people can look at. You know what I mean? And Izzo is going to dissect every single minute of every 20 games on this team. You know what I mean? So I think teams are adjusting. They realize what you say. Like, if you let them, they'll try to run too far, too fast. They had a couple of bad turnovers where I think Cadeau could have just pulled back and ran a set. But he threw it up to that one. He threw up tomorrow was like, dude, that guy's 7'3" running down the court. You're gonna throw like a dime to him, like maybe Yaks, maybe Chris Bryler, but you don't throw that to Mara. You know what I'm saying?
Got it right here.
Yep, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is, baby.
Look at this. This is evidence. Okay, so for everybody, look at the hang time. Look at
you're at least 3 inches off the ground.
I was going to say it got cut off a little bit here. There's about this much space.
Yeah, I wonder why, Chris, because your feet are on the ground.
That's real deal right there. Okay.
I think that this is like I can't even do. I think this is it's just a solid team. You know what else I find very impressive with this team? They switch everything, and the bigs can stay with guards. Like when you watch Johnson out on the wing, and he's all of what 6'10", 6'11", and he just sticks to a guard like that. It's wild, bro.
Yeah,
like that. They're not afraid to switch on everything. So I wonder what Michigan State's gonna do. They're heavy with pick and roll and things like that. If Michigan's just switching, I guess they could find some bad positions, but
yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason why they're a favorite going into Friday's matchup. Obviously big win against Nebraska, first loss for the Cornhuskers all season long. But the real test is going to come on Friday when you got to go down to Breslin, a place where Michigan hasn't won a basketball game since 2018. Right now, the Wolverines are 1.5-point favorites. The over-under for that game is set at 145.5. But when you look at the last 10 meetings, Michigan State has won 7 of them, and Michigan State has gotten the best of Dusty May. I just think this sets up for a really interesting battle for a number of reasons. A, because I think that this is obviously 2 teams that are going to be favored in March. But B, because of that discrepancy between Izzo and Dusty May, and we were talking about this a little bit before we went live, where I guess how much pressure do you think is on Dusty May, who's looking to get a win over Michigan State, and what the narrative will be if Michigan goes into East Lansing and walks out with a loss once again, but with a team like this?
I mean, I'm not going to go as far as what you said before the podcast started and say he should be fired, because I think that's crazy.
Don't do that, because then people are actually going to believe that's being said.
No, we were saying, I think like in football, 3 straight losses to your rival, way different than 3 straight in basketball, right? You play twice a year. You potentially play 3-4 times, depending on how the tournaments break out. So I don't think it's a big deal. You're at home. I'm shocked that they're favored. I think that's a bit crazy to me. If I was a objective Michigan or non-Michigan, just an objective fan, not a Michigan fan, I mean, I'd look on paper and Michigan looks better, but I've been to the Breslin. Like, I've been there during a Michigan State game.
You live near the Breslin.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can smell it from here. But, yeah, I'm telling you, the environment's wild. It's a little bit different. I went there back when Trey Burke was there, and they played at Michigan State. And like, Draymond and all those guys have been there. You know what I mean? It's a tough place to win, man. I don't even know who I'd pick.
Well, I mean, you're on a Michigan podcast, so you obviously have to pick the Michigan Wolverines, but I think it's going to be a tough battle. You have to factor in the environment at Breslin. I think that's going to carry. And, there's been some criticism that there's not enough. Did you watch? Well, you did watch the broadcast on Peacock, or however the hell you watched it the other night against Nebraska. Did it seem a little bit quiet to you? Do you think that was more just a product of the way it was broadcast? Because it seemed like there was some energy missing out of Chrysler, and I saw that commentary taking place online on social media. I'm wondering if you picked up on that.
The first half, for sure. I mean, because you got a team shooting, lights out. That's going to happen. It's going to quiet the crowd a little bit. But I think it kind of picked up towards the end. I don't know if I noticed it that much. It sounded like a game that was, your team's losing by 11 points at one point. Fans aren't going to be hooting and hollering as much, but no, I didn't think. Did you have a problem with it being on Peacock? Were you one of those people too?
Well, I'm tired of that.
Like, huh?
I'm tired of that too, man. I'm tired of.
You can't figure out where to watch these damn games.
Yeah, I was able to get it on. I was able to get it on YouTube TV through NBC Sports or something like that. But I was trying to find my way through Peacock. I don't have the Peacock subscription, so I was trying to navigate my way through there, and then I just happened to discover that I could also watch it on YouTube TV. Yeah. But this is part of the deal, man, is like trying to figure out how you're going to be able to keep up with everything that's going on, because you have to have so many different streaming services to watch it all. It's just another instance of how the fan is getting screwed over by the sports world. We got to find a way. I need to get one of those. It was like one of those fire sticks or something, right? Where you can steal all this shit for free.
Let's talk about committing felonies on live podcasts.
That's not a felony to steal cable. Come on.
Haven't you watched Cable Guy? That guy. He went to prison.
I have not seen Cable Guy.
Cable. Jim Carrey. You need what? You need to watch Cable Guy, dude. Ask the fans.
Is that
Matthew Broderick? He went to prison for stealing cable.
You get a lot of your legal knowledge from Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah, liar. Obviously, he's got some experience, dude. That's 2 right there. You want me to keep going? He's probably been a lawyer more than lawyers have been lawyers.
Oh boy!
And would you believe Jim Carrey in court? Yes, so would I.
And you've got the doctor title because you watched Nutty Professor 12 times. I'm sure that's how that worked as well. Yes. Okay, fine. All right. I wasn't aware that this is how this stuff works.
You have to
yeah, I look when people are advising me now to watch Cable Guy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm intrigued by this one. I don't think I'm going to make too much out of it. But look, the commentary that I've seen online for sure, if Michigan goes into the Breslin and loses this game to Michigan State, you're going to see a lot of the doom and gloom out there that's already sort of been building because Michigan's not blowing anybody out. But it's a long season. This team is obviously built to win in March, and I think that there's things that they've got to clean up, obviously. But every team is in the same boat, man. I think that there's no team out there playing perfect basketball right now, but Michigan's about as good as you can get. And I like their chances in March, but I'm intrigued and excited to see how this thing works on Friday. And I do think Michigan's going to go in, and I don't know how it's going to, I don't know what the end result is going to be, obviously, but I think that this is going to be a kind of another version of what you saw against Nebraska, where you've got 2 good teams in the Big Ten battling it out, through the entire game. I think that that's the way it's going to play out. And I think Michigan's got enough guys to where they can do the same thing they did against the Cornhuskers, where you just make 1 or 2 more plays in the other team and you find yourself in a close win. And
they're deeper on the front court too.
Michigan correct. And they've got some guys on the bench that can come in, and give you good minutes. Right. I think 1.5 points. I mean, I feel confident in the Wolverines' chances to be able to do that. But again, big game on Friday, 8 p.m. This one's on Fox, so you don't got to worry. You don't got to try to find some sort of weird app or anything, streaming service. You got to download 8 p.m. on Fox. Michigan going down to East Lansing to the Breslin Center to take on the Spartans. Jared, anything else you want to say about the basketball team before we transition to my fitness routine?
Nope, let's transition.
Let's make a different transition. There was some news that came out this week regarding Michigan football. I'm just going to throw it up here. The 2026 schedule is official. It's finally out. We found out, we knew who Michigan was going to play, but we didn't know when these games were going to take place. And then the schedule was released this week. Michigan got the Michigan Wolverines has Western Michigan at home. They start the season with 4 consecutive games at home. Western Michigan, Oklahoma, a big time week 2 matchup against the Sooners. You got UTEP week 3, Iowa week 4 before you go on the road week 5 to take on Minnesota. And then after that, you've got the bye week. You come back to Ann Arbor. You take on Penn State at home. You've got Kurt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers at home. You go on the road to take on Rutgers. You're back home against Michigan State. Then you're back on the road for a tricky one out in Eugene against the Oregon Ducks. You come back home against UCLA, and then you hit the road for that final week in November against Ohio State. So, Jared, I mean, we knew this going in, right? It's a loaded schedule, a difficult schedule. I mean, if you're Kyle Whittingham, welcome to the Big Ten. Welcome to the University of Michigan. You've got Indiana, reigning national champions. You've got Oregon. You've got Ohio State. You've got Penn State on the schedule. You got Oklahoma coming to your building. I guess when you look at this schedule, Jared, what are your thoughts? Where's your head at?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Mateer is coming back for Oklahoma, right?
I don't know. Is he coming back? I thought he was like in his 30s. I'll check.
Okay, I thought he was. So because I was going to say what strikes me is if Mateer does come back, you got Oklahoma with a Heisman candidate. You got Oregon with Dante Moore, who said he's coming back, Heisman candidate. Ohio State, Julian Sand, Heisman candidate. Like legit right now, 3 Heisman candidates, and all the fans are saying Mateer's coming back. Yep. So
yes, he's coming back. Yep.
So 3 top Heisman level dudes that are going to compete. Man, that's just a tough schedule. But I think that they could make it through to the Penn State game, past to the Indiana game undefeated. I really do. I think they can. I think you can beat Oklahoma at home. I think you're going to see a big difference. I think that leap that you're going to see from Underwood, just from experience of being a freshman, now proper training of being a seasoned sophomore, is going to be a big difference. And I think Indiana is Indiana, man. You don't bet against Cignetti right now. And they're reloading, right? They're going to reload like they do. So, what do you think?
Well, I look again.
Just say 12-0.
I want to say 12-0, right? I got a lot of belief in Kyle Whittingham. No, I mean, I think getting the 10 wins is going to be incredibly difficult with this schedule. I would love to see it happen, obviously. And I think that if you're Michigan, I mean, with a schedule like this, I don't know. I think, does 9 wins potentially get you in the playoff with this schedule? Does 9 wins get you there?
Unless they expand this on bit.
Well, yeah, and they're not going to do that.
But here's the thing. I think 10-2 might. And all you're asking them to do is beat one team that they're not favored against. Like, because I think against Oklahoma at home, they're going to be favored. So I think they're going to be favored all the way up to Indiana. And they might not be favored on that one. Depends on what the Indiana team looks like, because, they're reloading the transfer. So, again, Indiana's like Michigan basketball every year, right? You don't know who the hell's even on the team, so you can't even plan for it. But you're asking them to beat Indiana or Oregon on the road or Ohio State on the road. They got to get one of those games. And then you're 10-2 with a big win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 top 10 teams on the schedule, on the back half of the schedule. That's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a loaded back half for sure. And I mean, and Penn State is another one of those wild card teams too, where you're not quite sure what you're going to get out of them. I mean, are they going to be significantly better than they were last year? Yeah, I think there's going to be some improvement there, but I'm not sleeping on Penn State. I'm certainly not sleeping on that week 2 game against Oklahoma. I'm not all that worried about it, but I heard the same shit last year when we were looking at the schedule, and I remember I was pounding the table about USC, and I kept hearing like USC isn't this, USC isn't that. Well, USC blew the doors off of Michigan. The difference this time around, though, is that I think the Wolverines are going to be far better coached. I think they're going to be far more locked in than what they were, more disciplined than what they were, and running a better offense than they were. And I think that this is a big part of, like, when you look at this schedule, it seems daunting, especially when you look at it through the lens of what things looked like with this team last year, right? If Michigan was trotting out the 2025 roster to face this schedule, the wheels could come off pretty damn quick, especially, you got Sharon Moore leading the way. If all things are the same, this looks like a nightmare. But you bring in a head coach who's got over 20 years of head coaching experience. You've got Bryce Underwood back now for year 2 with a full year of starting reps under his belt. You got All-American Andrew Marsh back. You've got an offensive line that got significant reps last year that is going to be, I would imagine, considerably better in 2026 than they were in 2025. And I think once you start to look at what Michigan has, to me, I feel like this is a manageable schedule. It's going to be somewhere between, it's going to be 9 or 10 wins, I think, on the schedule. I don't think it's going to go down to 8. I certainly don't think they're going to get to 11 wins. And you're right. It's going to come down to one of these games. You're going to have to find a way to win it that you're not going to be favored in, whether that's Indiana, whether that's Oregon, whether that's Ohio State. I mean, if you're looking at, let's take Oklahoma. Let's take Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, right? So let's take those 4 games. What do you think Michigan's record is going to be in those 4 games, and where do you see the wins coming from? I already know you think they could beat Oklahoma week 2.
2-2, and I think they can beat Indiana.
Okay.
Yep, because I think Indiana's is hemorrhaging talent right now, right? Like they got some back.
They brought in that the TCU transfer quarterback, right? What was his name?
Is it
Hoover? Yeah, Josh Hoover from TCU.
Here's the other thing to think about. So I think it would be Indiana and Oklahoma. But if you look at this schedule geographically, right, they don't go anywhere until week 11.
Week 11,
right?
Yeah.
Like, you think about it, Minnesota is right next door. Rutgers, that's an hour and a half flight. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going difficult. And then you go out to Oregon, and they give you get to come back home against UCLA. Yeah, well, yeah, we all know that, CJ. I'm just say it right now.
I'm almost ready.
Probably, yeah. They won't. It'll be week 1, CJ. After they crush Western 66-3, Chris is like, I knew.
Was that the game? Was this Western game the one that was supposed to take place in Germany? This was the one, right?
Was it this one?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Because wasn't Sharon Moore going to be suspended for it?
Yeah,
right. He was going to be serving a suspension, so he wasn't going to be there, and yada yada.
I thought he was done with his suspensions, wasn't he? They pushed one more.
No, I thought there was another suspension coming. That was part of it
right now. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not going to get it back into that, but damn, it's that hard to keep track of. I didn't know who was going to be available when, who was suspended where. Yeah, it's certainly a tough schedule. I'm excited for it. And I think one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to it is it just feels like, even with a new coaching staff in place, I guess, Jared, where I'm at with this is I feel like the expectations have gone back to where they should be. I feel like last year with Sharon Moore in place and with a young roster, like, we all wanted them to be playing at a certain level, but there was always like a legitimate excuse you could make, even though I hate making excuses, especially in the world of sports. But, you could talk about the offensive line was young. Bryce Underwood's a true freshman. Andrew Marsh is young. You look at the defense here and they've got some young pieces that are playing. And then Sharon Moore, first-time head coach, only in his second year, still trying to figure out his way. Like, there were all these excuses that you could come up with for why Michigan wasn't, living up to the standard that we came to expect from 2021 to 2023. I feel like this season, 2026, I feel like that's out the window. Even with a schedule like this, you're bringing in a very experienced coaching staff. Again, a head coach who's got, over 20 years of head coaching experience. Now you've got a roster that's a little more seasoned. I don't see any reason why the expectation shouldn't be playoff or bust for Michigan. That's where I'm at on it. But again, I think it's 9 or 10 wins. And I think the difference is, if they go 2-2 against Oklahoma, Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State, then I think they're getting in the college football playoff. I just, I'm going to have to see it. I think, how much are you going to put on that week 2 matchup against Oklahoma? I get that it's out of conference, but we saw last year that, if you get the win against Oklahoma early in the season, Michigan's probably in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's going to be huge. And thank God it's at home. Mateer is going to be a monster again, but now again, you've played him once. You got, you've seen him. You know what he can do. So I have a question for you though. So if you're between 9 and 10, if they had brought Justice Haynes back, where would you be at? Because then I have a second question based on what you do with that.
I don't know. Heisman caliber running back. If they bring back Justice Haynes, I certainly don't feel worse about the situation. I mean, I would say I feel better about it. Look, if you have Justice Haynes on your roster, and I'm not trying to discredit, because I think the running back room is loaded as is.
Yep.
But Justice Haynes, we saw last season that anytime he touched the ball, he was a threat to take it to the house. He was a home run threat waiting to happen. There's a reason why Georgia Tech paid what they paid to get him out there.
What they paid?
Look,
was it like, I think it was like 2.5.
It was over $2 million, right? Yeah. So yes, if you bring Justice Haynes back, do I feel better about their chances? Absolutely, because that's a guy that I feel, if you had Justice Haynes available for Ohio State, are things different? Quite possibly, especially with the way that game started. I think he's the guy that can be a difference maker in the game. So, do I think it's more likely they get to 10 wins with Justice Haynes in the fold? Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, next question. You're the GM. Would you have given him 2.5? 3? Even 3? Let's say 3. Let's say $3 million. Would you have given him $3 million?
It depends. Is Larry Ellison willing to help and assist?
They got NIL money, and it's a 1-year deal. I think that I was thinking about that the other day.
Finances were there.
Walk for $500,000.
If the finances were there, absolutely. I'm paying him whatever I feel like I got to pay him. If Georgia Tech is willing to pay him X, then I'm willing to pay him. I'll match it at the very least. I'll match what he's willing to get, and I'll give him a better opportunity to get in the college football playoff. And I feel like he's that important of a player. But again,
I agree with you, man.
Last year that you can make an investment into a guy like that, and this is true for all the guys, but you can make a substantial investment of that, and you can lose him week 2, and now all of a sudden you're on the hook for $2.5 million for a guy who can't really even make an impact on the field because he's battling injury. And so, you've got to factor all that stuff in. And I get that we think that, Michigan is this massive money cannon and the treasure box is unlimited. And I think to a certain extent, some of that is true that
nobody's sweating $500,000. That's
sure.
All I'm saying.
Right.
We're not talking, ain't nobody sweating that.
That's true, but I don't think the funds are necessarily as unlimited as some people think, where you can just pay all of these guys whatever it is that they're commanding. But certainly a guy like Justice Haynes, I don't know, man. It's a bit of a risk, but I would have matched. I would have paid whatever.
I agree. At some point in Schembechler Hall or some shady back room with cigar smoke, there was a discussion about paying him or not, and they came to the conclusion to not pay him or not even not match or whatever. So I would just put myself in that shoes. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to come to that conclusion, man. Like,
yeah. And then the other question is, how does it impact the rest of the room? Like, does Savion Hyder, as he's sitting back and looking at the transition of the coaching staff, and now Justice Haynes is coming back, like, I guess that's the other part of this that we're not really working with that information is what's the fallout if you pay
him,
right? If you pay Justice Haynes X, right? And then how does that impact the rest of the room? Does that impact the decision potentially that Jordan Marshall makes? Like, guys like that, like, I don't know. So those details I don't have, but if you could have kept Savion Hyder, Jordan Marshall, and you had the funds to pay Justice Haynes, obviously I would say pay Justice Haynes because he's worth it, and he's a guy that can help get you to a national championship game.
So Haynes or Marshall then?
Don't do that to me.
Dude, I'm got to do it to you, brother.
Don't do it to me. I love them both.
What if you had to pay one?
All right, then I say Jordan Marshall because he's the guy that's here.
Well, I agree with you on that anyways, because you get 2 years, and I some of the fans have said it, and I'm wondering about this too, and I think you and I might have talked about it. Is Justice Haynes injury prone? Like some of the hits that he took that he got the injuries on, like they replayed him, and I'm like, man, that's a football hit.
The Michigan State one was puzzling to me because I was there and I don't remember seeing anything. Him limping around or anything. Like I think he played in most of that game, and then I saw him walking off the field. I didn't really see any sort of
USC. He got hit like
issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe he's not.
Not everybody's built like us, Jared. You know?
Exactly. That's true.
Not everybody is built like us. I see Joe from the Facebook page talking about Taylor Tatum. Taylor Tatum actually, according to a report from the Detroit Free Press, is going to be playing defense to start out his Michigan career. He's working out with the safeties at this point. Miguel Perez from the Facebook page. Yes, Justice Haynes is coming back. He's just not coming back to Ann Arbor. Justice Haynes is playing for another year, and he's going to Georgia Tech from the state of Georgia originally. So he's going back home. And again, you know, they were willing to pay him.
Had a good year too.
Yeah. There's no question about it. So, I don't know, man. This is going to be intriguing. And again, if you're Kyle Whittingham, like, welcome to the Big Ten. And I guess, how much pressure do you think? Because people were frustrated with Sharon Moore pretty early. I think there were a lot of people that when Michigan made that hire thought that it wasn't the right hire. There was some skepticism. Obviously, the belief was that if you keep Sharon Moore, you're going to be able to keep the roster together. You know, a lot of the culture that was built and on and on and on, yada, yada, yada. To a certain extent, some of that was true because he was able to keep Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, Will Johnson and Colston Loveland. Like he kept all of those key players stayed in the fold. But I think that it got old really quick when the offense looked like it wasn't competent and it just looked like in-game decisions were really lacking. And now here you have a guy in Kyle Whittingham who's obviously been coaching football for, over 3 decades. How long do you think the leash is going to be, and what do you think is a fair expectation for year one when you look at this schedule?
I mean, he's got a loaded team. I think if he slips anything below 9, like you said, if it's an 8-win team at the end of the year, people are going to be like, he's not going to get fired, but it's going to get weird. You know what I mean? Like, you got a pretty good team. They spent some money. They went out and got some good recruits. They got 3 5-stars, which I'm sure we'll talk about. A couple that look like they could play immediately, impact immediately. You kept your top 2 offensive targets, top 3 probably with the running backs. Your defense, I don't know, maybe there's some work to do there, but certainly not an 8-win defense, So I think 9. I think 9 is even people are grumbling. You know what I mean? Like, because now the whole thing, right? You paid Bryce how much? You paid this guy how much?
How worried are you about that defense, by the way? Because we look at what Michigan has done offensively. I feel good. Like, I feel good about the offensive line. Obviously, the quarterback situation, they're in a much better spot this year than they were last year and the year before that. That was god awful. But at wide receiver, it seems like they've made an upgrade. At tight end, we'll figure out what they have there. But by and large, it feels like the offense, and then you add in offensive coordinator Jason Beck to the mix. It feels like the offense has gotten or will be significantly better than what we saw last year. But when you look at the defense, they've made some additions into the secondary. I think
some good guys too. Got some experienced guys.
Yeah, they've got some edge rushers in the fold. My biggest concern is with the defensive line, which looks pretty thin right now. And then at linebacker, there's some guys that are in the mix, but they don't really have any dudes necessarily that have like proven themselves at this point. How concerned are you about the Michigan defense?
I mean, the defensive line didn't dominate this year like we're used to, and it showed in some games. You know what I mean? So I'm concerned there for sure. But I also know that Michigan has been recruiting decently for years at that position. So there is some depth there, and there's some guys that are probably going to pop up that we didn't even consider. I think Nate Marshall is going to be. I really thought he was going to be a hell of a player when he got here, and he had some flashes last year as a freshman. That sophomore leap, I think he'll be an impact guy. I think getting Rod Moore back is crucial just on the defense as a whole, as a leader.
Man, I hope he like plays.
I hope he balls out, bro. I hope he does too, man. I'll be so happy for that kid. and just his knowledge anyways, you know what I mean? And then we talked last week about Tatum. Now, granted, he doesn't have the experience or anything, but dude's just a stud athlete, right? Like, he's going to figure this out, and he's going to make some plays. You can take Mikey Sainristil and move him over there and make him an impact player. Tatum has way more athletic ability, I think, and so I'm excited about that. The defense is questionable, but
yeah, I mean, you got Trey Pierce.
Spring game, right? Spring game's going to tell you a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, you got Trey Pierce. You got, Etta coming back. I mean, those are two big returns for the defensive line. Had those guys not chosen to come back, it would
real trouble.
Real thin at the edge. You've got Nate Marshall, who you mentioned. Dom Nichols is a guy who I feel like a lot of people are high on. Cam Brandt got a lot of good reps last year. He's a guy that should be pretty solid. And then there's the question mark of, John Henry Daly, who's coming over from Utah, who's working his way back from is it an ACL injury that he had?
They said he'd be good. They said he'd be no issue. He'll be
non-contact injury. I mean, he's a guy that I think he was an All-American out at Utah, a guy that he was, I think ESPN put him in the list of the top 100 players from last season. By the way, Michigan didn't have a single player that made that list, but the incoming edge rusher from Utah was on that list. I think he was like number 43 or whatever. So in the top half of that list, he's a guy that can obviously be a game wrecker if he's healthy. And then at linebacker, you've got Troy Bowles, you've got Chase Taylor, you've got Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, and then you've got the incoming transfer from North Dakota State, Nate Staling. Is that how you say it? Who seems like one of those guys who, I don't know, when you pull guys out of that program, out of that area of the country, it just feels like you're going to get guys who are tough-nosed, good, solid athletes, and I think that there's a reason why they went after him. And so there's some on the defensive line and at linebacker, they've got some guys, but it's a lot to lose when you lose the type of guys that Michigan is losing, especially at the edge up front on the defensive line. And then linebacker, there's just a lot of guys to have to replace and a lot of unknowns. And I don't think we're going to know a lot of that until we get into week 2 and we really see what this team is capable of against legitimate competition. And fortunately, that game is going to take place in Ann Arbor. So I'm excited for it, man. I think all this boils down to, again, 12-0 for the Michigan Wolverines in 2026. And then you go and you make your run. You follow up Indiana's perfect 16-0 run. Michigan obviously going to go on a perfect 16-0 run, restore order in the Big Ten. That's how I see it playing out. How concerned are you about Indiana?
The fans say remove the schedule. They want to see our pretty faces.
They want to see us take the schedule off?
Yeah, they got it. It's like seared into their brain. You've had it up for 41 minutes.
Has it been up for 41 minutes?
Would you rather look at the schedule or this? Come on, look it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do your thing.
Knock my mic out.
Turn your mic off. That's all they want, man. They just want to look at you.
The microphone was like, nah, we're not going to do that. How scared of Indiana are you next season?
What, me? Indiana?
Yeah.
Why would Indiana be the team I'm scared of? I said they're going to beat Indiana. I'm not scared of Indiana.
Okay, what's your biggest fear? You've got Oklahoma. You've got
Oregon. Going to Oregon.
Oregon over the road against Ohio State?
No, Ohio State's number one, obviously. But
okay, rank them.
To me, that's
let's rank them.
Which one am I afraid of most?
Those are the 4 games, right? What's your
Ohio
biggest
State,
concern?
Oregon, Indiana, Oklahoma.
Interesting.
I mean, it's always Ohio State, right? They're always number one to me. Like that to me. And then it's at Ohio State. And now you got Bryce doesn't have really an excuse, right? Like some big name players, JJ, won games there. Like he wants to be a legacy guy. He's got to win that game. He's got to win an Ohio State game. He's got to leave Michigan with a winning record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my opinion there. Like
I get it.
Got to win next year.
I think I might put Oregon at the top of the list. I think the road trip out to Eugene, I think that is.
I think Julian Sand's a better quarterback than Dante Moore, and he has better weapons. That's what I think. I think Ohio State really wants to beat their ass, like bad. I don't think what they did this year was enough for them. I think they really wanted to. Jeremiah Smith has an issue.
He's been doing that for like that whole routine about like I'm coming back for everything. I'm coming at everyone. Whatever. Like Jeremiah Smith to me is like
pretty solid year.
He's okay. He's good. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's good, but he hasn't so far been what I thought he would be. Is that fair to say?
No, that's not fair. He's got more touchdowns than games played. What more do you want from the kid?
More?
I mean, he's unstoppable. You stop it. We were watching a game this year.
Unstoppable? He was stoppable in 2024.
He scored a touchdown still. Like all he does is score touchdowns.
Like 30 yards.
Huh? One bad game. Trust me, Jeremiah Smith is a beast.
To me, it hasn't been a generational type performance, what I expected from him with the hype. And then when you saw him as a true freshman and what he was capable of, maybe my
40 touchdowns in 3 years as a receiver.
Maybe my expectations are a little bit too high. I'm just a little bit underwhelmed. I think he's great. I think he's phenomenal, but I think there should be more. I'm not sure Ryan Day knows what to do with a wide receiver.
Okay, I'll accept that. I do think they should force the ball to him more. I watched games, right, that they didn't throw to him. I think he's the type of talent that, like Randy Moss when he was at Minnesota as a rookie. Remember those years? And they were like, we threw the ball to him. We forced it to him. Yeah, because he's better. So I agree with you on that. But I also think Sayan's a better quarterback than Dante Moore. And that's another reason I think, for me, Ohio State is a tougher opponent. I think Dante Moore can't get rattled. He's shown that. He's had some bad games. Now he's going to be at home, but they're both at home. You know what I mean?
He's going to be at home. He's also going to have another year of experience. He's coming back.
Fan base is going to be more harsh to deal with. Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah, maybe, but Michigan knows how to win.
Friendly and nice, and their mascot's a duck. You know what I mean?
But Michigan knows how to win in Columbus. When's the last time Michigan went on the road to Oregon?
Have they played in Oregon?
I don't think so. I have no idea. So
they're undefeated on the road against Oregon is what you're saying. I'm just saying, bro.
Oh my God.
Not.
This is the type of analysis that you come to this podcast for, right? Because you can't get this analysis anywhere. I was thinking about this.
Jared, are you really a doctor? Yes.
Well, maybe you should clarify that. What kind of doctor are you? You're not like the kind of medical doctor.
No, that's what I said. Don't send me pictures. I cannot diagnose shit.
I sent Jared some pictures of some things that were going on, and he just replied and he said, "Please stop."
Yeah, please go to urgent care or 911. Something, do something.
You're gonna need.
No, I'm a doctor of business, folks. Don't send me any pictures.
He's a business doctor. Okay. The reason I'm putting this up here is because Paul is agreeing with me here. And so obviously this is a great comment from the fans here. Paul Bickler from the Facebook page says, I'm with Chris. He had 4 games where he had under 50 yards last season during the regular season. That's way too many for a dominant number one with a soft schedule. I agree. I just think that there are times where it's like they forget Jeremiah Smith is part of the offense, and then they remember it at some point, and then he goes out and makes an incredible play. But
that's not on him.
No, that's not on him at all. I think it's just a product of the offense he's in. But Jared, I'm with you. Like, if you've got a guy like that in your offense, why not? Like, anything that's 50-50 is never truly 50-50 if you're throwing it to Jeremiah Smith. And that's where I'm at with it. I just don't feel like they utilize him in a way that I would expect for a wide receiver of that caliber. And I mean, whatever. I'm happy to see it against Michigan, but I don't know. I'm just not as scared of the Buckeyes as I once was, with the way Michigan has handled that. And I think 2024 really changed things for me, and I think changed things for this program as well. And so if I look at, Ohio State or Oregon, I think Oregon for sure is going to be the toughest road environment.
All right, man. Everybody's like bashing Jeremiah Smith on here. This is crazy.
Who's bashing him?
You are. Are you saying he's not been met expectations?
No, I'm doing.
He set the FBS record for receiving yards and touchdowns by a freshman.
Oh, no.
2025 Rose Bowl MVP, 7 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Big Ten Receiver of the Year. 163 receptions, 2,500 receiving yards, and 27 touchdowns.
What are you? Are you some kind of Ohio State lackey here? Is this an Ohio State podcast?
I appreciate talent. That kid's talented, man.
Yeah, I'm not shitting. I'm saying that it's more of a problem with the way Ohio State uses him that I feel like he should be targeted more.
I'm also corroborating your statement that Ryan Day does not know how to use him. Because if I read those stats to you and you were just a head coach and I said, hey, you got a guy that's done this, what would your first response be? Sweet, we're throwing it to him 10 times minimum. We're forcing the ball to him minimum.
Right.
We're also going to run regular routes for him, but we're going to force it 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan Day, man. Fucking Ryan Day, dude.
Jared?
I'm mad. He's got me fired up. He's texting me over here too, talking shit. You guys don't see that part.
So schedule wise, I mean, look, plenty of intrigue, plenty of interest, and plenty of time. Like that's the thing, man. We're just at the tail end of last season, and so we know how these off seasons go, man. At some point in time in the summer, it's going to be like, can college football just be back? But we've got a lot of time to talk about the schedule, digest it, see what Kyle Whittingham does with the roster, see what guys are rising to the top. Jared, you had hinted on this a little bit recently. Rivals released their top 300 rankings, their final rankings of the year, and Michigan has 3 5-stars now, 3 5-stars as part of their class, which is weird because technically Celesi Moa is a transfer, an athlete / wide receiver / defensive back. Technically, he's a transfer, but Rivals did bump his ranking up to a 5-star ranking, along with edge rusher Carter Meadows, and then obviously running back Savion Hyder. So 3 5-stars as part of Michigan's 2026 class. Jared, I think all 3 of these guys for sure are year 1 impact guys, potentially, that can make an impact right away. When you look at these 3 5-stars, which one of these guys excites you the most? Which one of these guys do you think is going to make the biggest impact year 1?
Man, that's tough. I was all in on Hyder, right? I think he's going to get reps. We talked about it last week. He's probably going to, he might be, I think he's going to be RB2 before it's all said and done this year. I think he'll pass Cusdahl. He just has that talent. But the Celesi Moa guy, man, I've seen some highlights, and I hadn't paid attention to him, right? Because he wasn't coming to Michigan. He wasn't our guy. Yeah. He was committed to Utah, and I'm like, whatever. And then he said he was going to stay at Utah when the coach came, so I still didn't pay attention. But now, man, he's a true two-way versatile talent, and I think he's going to see the field on special teams, and I think he's going to make some plays. I think he really is, man. He's fast. He's shifty. I don't think he's good enough to play defense year 1, you know what I mean? That's just tough. And
I think he just as a side note, he made it clear that his preference is to play on the offensive side of the ball. I think that's why he committed to Utah, and I'm quite certain that's why, when the staff moved over, that's why he's coming over to play at the University of Michigan, and I'm pretty sure he's going to start his career on the offensive side of the ball, which seems like a good move, right? If you're trying to get your feet wet as a true freshman. But it sounds like to me, I haven't heard you say anything about Carter Meadows defensively. So
I like Carter. It's tough to crack the field defensively, right? And think about some of the guys that you named on the edge, right? Cam Brandt, Dom Nichols, Nate Marshall. Like, dude, those guys got reps. Those guys got experience. They got weight. They got training. Now, is Meadows going to see the field? Absolutely. He's a freak player, freak athlete. I wouldn't be surprised if he blocked a field goal this year because he's got that leaping ability. I think he's got some hops. He does. You've shown some.
Really, I mean, he's not quite this, but I mean, he can get up. He can get up a little.
I'll talk to you later, bro.
He can get up a little bit. He's got.
You pull that card out one more time. One more time.
It's really good. I'm gonna have it blown up and put in the man cave on display.
You sign it, and I'll put it in my man cave.
Maybe I'll start signing them and handing them out at like tailgates and things like that.
Well, yeah, because you sure as hell can't sell them.
There's no resale value there. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, in terms of excitement, I think for me, I think Celesi Mosa is going to be the most exciting component to Michigan's offense. To me, Savion Hyder, I feel like is going to be a known commodity. I think we all expect him to be great as a running back. It's just a matter of how many reps is he going to get as a true freshman. You got Jordan Marshall, you've got Bryson Cusdahl back, and then you've got Savion Hyder there, and how they're going to split those reps. I think Savion Hyder is going to make a fairly sizable impact as a true freshman. But in terms of excitement, I'm excited to see what Celesi Mosa does in the Michigan offense, because Michigan has been so starved for guys who can make plays offensively in the passing game. And I think that he's a guy that can come in and, hopefully in year 1 be able to do that. They just put out, Michigan just put out a video of the team working out. Celesi Mosa's in there. He's working out. He's got a shirt off. And like some of the comments were like, can the weight team get with this guy? Cause he looks very much like, he's built like he just got out of high school, right? And it's a big difference. We've talked about this before, even with Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood came in built like a grown-ass man, right? What, he's 6'5", 220, something like that.
Still put on like 15 more pounds, though.
Right. But when you make that transition from high school to college, it's just a major, massive transition. And so I'm excited to see how they choose to use him. I do think he's going to see the field, obviously, on special teams, but I think he might get a look here and there offensively. And I'm excited to see what he does when he gets the ball in his hands. I mean, he's rated a 5-star for a reason. The guy's a playmaker. And like I just said, I mean, Michigan has been so starved for playmakers at the wide receiver position for so long. It just feels like, you've had Roman Wilson here and you had Ronnie Bell and, there were some guys that were able, but just, I mean, Andrew Marsh to me was the closest thing we've had to like a legitimate dude at wide receiver in such a long time. And maybe, Celeste Moa can be one of those guys.
Yeah. And I think like, you said he got to put some weight on, but it's the old saying, right? Can't teach speed. Like kids got speed, kids got shiftiness. You get him on the field and you hope that he doesn't get popped because he doesn't have that weight yet, but he's stepping into elite training, and I think he's on campus, right? So he's an early enrollee. Yeah, correct. So he's here now.
He was enrolled and going to class at Utah.
Oh, he was at Utah. That's right. Yeah, I didn't know if there was an issue. I know he said he was working out with the team, so I should have figured. But I mean, he could put on 10 to 15 pounds before the season starts. Legitimate.
I put on 10 to 15 pounds before Monday.
Who you can?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because you eat sleeves of Oreos. We're talking healthy weight, Chris, not Professor Clump weight like you were talking about.
Don't you never like call me man of the game.
Exactly. That's what I said before.
Imagine that. Imagine
being craving Oreos right now.
I mean, I'm always craving.
Oh, you waited way too long to answer that, dog.
I'm always craving Oreos are a problem. You know what else is a problem? Pringles are a problem. When you pop the top on a can of Pringles, to me, it's a serving size. The entire can
one at a time. So
that's the thing. I don't eat one Pringle at a time. It's always like it's a stack of 10 of those bad boys.
And then the crumbs go everywhere. You do that?
No. They all go in. They all go
put the whole thing in your mouth. That's against, dude. I don't think that's against.
Yeah, that's right. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah, but you can't eat 15 at once.
There might not be a truer statement in marketing than Pringles slogan, once you pop, you can't stop, because I cannot stop once I pop.
Yeah, Pringles do have rat shit on them there or something now, though.
Bacon is all you need. I don't know about that. I'm not trying to pop a package of bacon.
My daughter's choir, fundraiser is selling bacon covered in chocolate.
That's horrific. That's disgusting.
So I bought some.
That's a bridge too far.
And bacon covered potato chips. Or chocolate covered potato chips. Bought some of that.
That is a sickness. That is that's a real problem. No,
you might have a problem, Chris. The fans currently agree with you.
There's no problem. I've got a problem for sure. There's a reason why I watch all those fat people shows. It's because I can relate to these people. I can relate to these. I just weight wise, I haven't gotten there yet. But I'm telling you, I'm 41 right now. If I keep housing Oreos in the car and popping the tops on Pringles cans, it's not long before the little scooter cart, the little Amigo cart, just makes an appearance in your life. One slip and fall on this Michigan ice, Jared, and I'm done. Then I'm up to, I go from where I'm at right now. I like 210 pounds. 310 comes real quick.
Well, you're halfway there. Oh, here's a good one.
I haven't read this all the way through. I need your opinion. My friend just had a baby. We need more of this in the podcast.
Good.
We need more of this in the podcast here. Any questions you have? It doesn't just have to be sports related. Is it Lucy Purr, I think, from the YouTube page says, I need your opinion. My friend just had a baby. She wants to name him Gabriel. I told her it's not a good name. They'll call him Gabe Owners. He'd get bullied, right? What is Gabe Owners? Oh. I had no idea. Who is this person?
No way you just fell for that, bro.
Do you know who this is?
I was like, is he gonna read that out loud?
Do you know who this is? I'm thinking, who the hell is Gabe Owners? Gabe Owners. Okay, I understand. I get it.
Oh my god, dude.
Was that even a real question, or was that just?
Oh, it was one of those gotcha things, dude.
Yeah.
Gabe Owners to the front desk. Your party is waiting. Like, you just went for it. Oh my god, dude. That was the best. I'm crying, dude. I was literally like, is he gonna read? Because I saw what it was. And I'm like, there's no way he's reading.
No idea. Zero.
You're gonna call her out for trying to trick you, dude.
No, I'm not up to speed.
You just went full-fledged. What's gay boners?
You see me read these questions. I struggle just to get the words right. I don't know what's coming.
Good one.
All right, let me look at my list here as we are now at 58 minutes. See if there's one more thing we can tuck in
that was worth the whole
before we get out of here. Maybe we should leave. Man, that one got me. Where do you want to leave this, Jared? I've got the MHSAA thing with high school players now able to sign NIL deals in the state of Michigan. We were talking about the uniform debate before we went live, which, what pro teams are wearing the best version. We could dive into that real quick. And then let me see. I think those two would probably be the only ones that are worth diving into at the end at this point. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go uniforms or do you want to go MHSAA?
Yeah, the NIL thing for me is,
okay, D's nuts, I understand. I use D's nuts daily with my children.
Wow, dude. Maybe we should just end this podcast right now.
I say that joke with my children.
Dude, I can't even take you serious right now.
I'm done doing them. All right, MHSAA thing. Let's talk about this. High school players able to earn NIL deals now. What's that?
The other states already do it. Like it's not a crazy concept. I think I remember hearing something about Missouri did it, but it was like only for high school kids who went to Missouri school, like a Missouri State school. You know what I mean? Like, so if you went to Missouri or Missouri State, or so, you could do it while you're in high school. If you committed to another school, you couldn't. Or they're trying to use it to leverage kids to stay in Missouri. But the bottom line is these kids. It's no different than NIL for college kids. It's still their name, image, and likeness. They can market at any point. You got child stars, and
this one took me a second, but I got it. I was reading it multiple times. I now understand. No, I have no update on loose asshole. Courtesy of Go Blue MFer from Well, wasn't there a can Gabe get an NIL deal? Probably
with a name like that. Yeah, Gabe owner.
Contraception deal, probably. Isn't Georgia doing a thing right now where, like, if you commit to Georgia, like, they pay you $20,000 a month as a high school kid as long as you're like the program? Aren't they doing something like that?
I hope that's not true, but technically they'd be allowed to, right? So Michigan would be able to sign these kids, but I feel like they get. I mean, the minute Savion Hyder signed with Michigan officially, I got an alert that said buy his autographed card. I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So I think that their school's already doing this anyways. They just roll right into Champion Circle or whatever. I don't know who's going to market with high school kids in Michigan. I mean, there's some stud players in Michigan right now, but
yeah. Here's what it pulled up. It says Georgia head coach Kirby Smart has highlighted that independent donor-backed NIL collectives are offering high school recruits up to $20,000 per month to secure commitments, describing the practice as an intense, unregulated, and challenging aspect of modern recruiting. It's not a direct payment from the university, but donors are able to go in and say, like, look, if you commit and you stay committed, like, we'll pay you $20,000 a month for the duration of your commitment. I mean, look, you're right. There are a lot of states that are already doing this, allowing high school recruits to benefit off of NIL. And I think Michigan doing it is a necessary step, regardless of how you feel about high school kids signing NIL deals. I did see a lot of the response, at least on the Facebook page. There was some question about, you already think about college players and how young they are and how good the representation is. And now you have high school players potentially entering into these deals, into these contracts. Jared, you know about this. I mean, you and I. Listen, both of us have experience, at least in trying to work with college athletes regarding NIL and how tough it can be sometimes to wrangle these guys in and nail things down and have certain things executed. And like I said, Jared, you probably know this better than anybody at this point. It's not an easy thing to do. I don't imagine it gets much easier trying to deal with high school kids, especially highly rated high school kids. Because how many high school kids are going to qualify for an NIL deal, at least anything that's worth any true value? I think it's interesting.
We worked with a company that I won't name that had a pretty famous person housing it and starting that company up. And their goal was to target high school kids. And now to us, it seemed like, the theory behind it was to teach these kids about NIL before they get into college and get taken advantage of or something like that, work with the parents and all those things. But they were going to target Sierra Canyon High School, right? One of the most popular high schools in the country and full of, high school kids that are going to go D1. An IMG would be similar. Like you said, I don't think there's a lot of kids in Michigan that are going to qualify for this, that big corporations are going to come knocking. These are elite type kids, but it is what it is. It's like somebody said in the comments, it's a capitalist society. Like it has a brand and image, anything they can sell it. That's kind of how it works. Some of these kids have amazing social media presences already, TikTok and things that companies are trying to break.
Look at the way Bryce Underwood as a high school recruit. I mean, I don't know how many followers he had, but it was quite a bit. Obviously he's a highly marketable guy, and that's a guy that could have made and maybe did make, quite a bit of money as a senior in high school. I don't know, man. I'm not really all that torn on it because to your point, it's a free market. It's a capitalist society. If you can earn income, you should be able to do it. I increasingly feel uncomfortable where it's headed, because I think you've seen it now, even in college athletics, where, if the intentions are good, right, to allow college athletes to profit and to make money off of their image and likeness, if the intentions are good to allow college athletes to enter the transfer portal and make a move, if there's a better move that fits them, no matter how many of these doors you open, there's always going to be a group of people that are waiting to take advantage of it. And you've seen some of that. I mean, dude, some of the stuff going on right now in college athletics with the transfer portal, and then some guys going and playing semi-pro and coming back, or guys on their 7th or 8th transfer, or applying for, a 7th or 8th year of eligibility just because you can make more playing at the collegiate level than you can make, playing pro ball. Even the fact that Michigan's got Larry Ellison as a donor, you've got these multi-billionaires that can come in and can throw money, massive amounts of money at athletes. When you throw high school kids into that mix, and I just think inevitably you're going to have negative consequences that come along with it. But just like anything else that's new and on the cutting edge, like there's going to be some stumbles along the way. But ideally, maybe some of these high school kids will make the most of it and be able to sign some good deals, and it won't lead to any shitty situations. I just don't have high hopes. To me, it feels messy. And you mentioned this, like, we had conversations and we're, potentially going to work with one of these companies that were starting this NIL thing specifically directed toward high school kids. And I felt weird. Yeah, it felt weird. Felt a little bit uncomfortable with it. It doesn't mean it can't work. It doesn't mean that, especially with at least one of the people that are involved, like, you've got to believe that good intentions are going to be there. And, there's,
I think you might see more mom and pop deals. You know what I'm saying? Smaller brands working with the kids, right? Trying to get in. Like, it's good for brands that can say, hey, Bryce Underwood, I mean, he was the number one player in the country. He was going to already have big deals. If this would go back in time, now he'd have the car and all that stuff already. But the mid-level guy, or the guy who's, top 100, they probably get some deals with local businesses, which, like you said, puts money in their pocket, whatever. It is what it is. And maybe that brand wants to latch onto him early. And, I saw a thing with a Reebok documentary on Netflix. There's that going to happen. A Reebok documentary on Netflix with Shaq and Iverson trying to redo Reebok. Right. And that's what they did. They went to high school kids and said, we're going to sign them in high school. And, they signed a bunch of McDonald's All-American basketball players out of high school. Yeah. That's what they could afford. They could afford at that, you know what I mean? They could get in at that level. Now they're betting the kid makes it, which is, that's kind of a gamble,
Yeah, Tyrone Gardner from the Facebook page. This is where I wonder how it's all going to work out. He says, Mr. 5-star showing up to prom in a Rolls Royce Phantom. Well, that shit's already happening. I mean, these guys are already getting car rentals. And if you look at the way prom was back in the day, when guys like Jared and I were going to prom versus the way it is now for some of these high level athletes, I mean, that is how they're rolling up into prom. The difference is, Tyrone, this time around, they'll probably own that vehicle and it won't be a renter. And that's what I wonder is, like, how long is it until you see the first high school quarterback sign $1 million deal, some NIL deal, and then things start to get wonky? I mean, dude, can you imagine you're an 18-year-old kid in high school, 17-year-old kid in high school, you're signing $1 million deal?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you Reebok is doing. That's what they're doing with their basketball shoes. They signed a couple 5-star basketball players to $1 million shoe contracts, and we're talking about making them shoes
already.
High school, yeah, it's on the Reebok documentary on Netflix where they're talking about bringing them back. That's Shaq is actually for all his the bullshit, he's a pretty smart businessman, dude. And he was like, listen, we can't afford to compete when they come out of college, because by then Nike and those, they crush us. He said, we got to find the kid that's in high school, bet on him, and have him bet on us. And they signed a couple kids out of high school.
Yeah, that Reebok money. I mean, it's all green at the end of the day.
It is. And if you're a 17-year-old kid and you look at Shaq and Iverson and they're influencing you and saying, hey, build this brand with us, rebuild it. Shit. That's the other part. You're going to get athletes jumping back into it too, right? Brands are going to get athlete ambassadors to go convince kids. And it's.
Yeah.
Basically, college sports is over, and we're just all paid now.
It is such a weird time.
Carson Beck just went to a national championship, didn't win, obviously, my bad, but didn't even go to school. He just lived on the beach with a OnlyFans model or something.
It's the same thing with a guy who's been playing semi-pro ball for a year that decides he's going to come back and fill a roster spot. On some sort of college team. Was it 3 years?
The basketball player was in the G League for 3 years. Chuck Bedarko or whatever. He got drafted by the Pistons. He was in the G League for 3 years. He just played last week in college basketball.
He's playing this weekend too, right?
Yeah. What are we doing?
Order, like that's the thing. Like you've got restraining orders that are being filed. You've got all these legal issues that are taking place, and now you're gonna, you're opening this up to high school kids, and I think a lot of it is going to be done hopefully the right way. But there's no question that you're going to see high school kids and their families get caught up in some sort of legal issue where they're not fulfilling an obligation or restraining orders are being filed. And I just, I'm not going to do the whole thing that we've done on here multiple times where I talk about how much I just don't like the way it's all
get off my lawn. Yeah.
I don't, I want people to be able to earn, and, I want the market to be able to decide, but there's just something about it that just feels a little bit off and feels a little bit, unsustainable. But Michigan is now, at the very least, if other states are doing it, and this is how I felt about NIL too, initially when it first started. Like I didn't feel necessarily great about it, but my mindset on the whole thing was like, if Alabama is going to be willing to pay somebody $3 million, and you know how it was when Harbaugh was here, right? He didn't want to pay anybody off the recruiting trail. If you came to Michigan and it turned out you were a dude and you could earn it, then they were more than willing to open the doors. But for so long with Jim Harbaugh leading the way, they weren't going to pay any high school recruit to come here when other programs were. And my thought was like, I don't like it necessarily, but if other programs are doing it, like if you're Michigan, you have to do it, or you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball for some sort of moral high ground that you're trying to hold. I think we're at a point right now where, there's not a lot of people in Michigan standing on moral high ground at this point. I think there's been a lot of humble pie.
Like everybody's going to do it. You can't just say this is Michigan. No. Go ahead, dude.
Yeah. So,
we got a 5-star quarterback at Vanderbilt. Number 2 kid in the Rivals, right? Jared Curtis was number 2 in Rivals.
Yeah.
From Georgia to Vanderbilt. Like, what are we doing, bro?
We didn't do it because the scenery was better. That's for sure.
Parody is awesome. I like the parody that it's creating. Like you're getting some weird schools coming up, and and it seems to be happening a lot down in the SEC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Indiana came up in Big Ten country, obviously, but a lot of those SEC like the SEC is paired up pretty good now, because Alabama ain't paying everybody, by themselves, and Georgia,
Indiana, once again, Indiana's another perfect example. You got Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban came in,
throwing money at the program. They're willing now. They're ready to compete, and they're going to have another transfer quarterback next year, and Kurt Cignetti's going to be back, looking to go back to back. I mean, it's just, even though it's already happened, I still can't wrap my mind around it. Like, it's almost like this last season didn't even happen. Like the fact that Indiana won the national championship, I know it happened, but it just doesn't feel real. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to fully, it's going to have to happen more than once for me to just like accept that this is where we're at. That just felt like such a mirage type thing, but it's, with the MHSAA thing, the ruling there, and high school kids being able to, cash in on NIL deals now, and where we are with college football, it just seems like, for as much as money played a part in it before, it's only growing. There's only more of it that's going to be involved. And I'm interested to see how high school kids respond, because not everybody's going to be a highly rated 5-star coveted recruit, but the guys who are in those top 100 rankings or whatever, those guys are going to be able to cash in. They're going to be able to make big chunks of cash. And I don't know how these back channel deals are going to be done and how that money's going to be funneled there, because schools can't make direct payments, and there are certain stipulations that you need to meet. But like I said before, Jared, you know damn well there's already some slimy guys in the mix that they know how they're going to work around it. And to Tyrone's point, yeah, there are going to be high school kids pulling up to prom in Rolls Royce, except now they're going to own those vehicles, and that's just a really, really weird,
terrible investment, kids.
Thank God I didn't make
That's why I don't have one. That's why I don't have one.
I don't. That's why I drive a Kia. There's few better investments than a Kia K5. 2022, by the way. Solid podcast, I think, Jared. We covered a lot. We covered a lot tonight. We didn't really get too much into relationships and dating advice, for you, obviously. I think we should hold that for the next show. I do want to talk about that uniform thing on the next show as well, because that's something that I've thought about a lot. I'll pose the question to you now, but we'll talk about it on the next podcast. I don't know that there's a single professional team right now, outside of some that haven't made any changes. Generally speaking, the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, they've largely stuck with what they've been wearing for a long time. But of the teams that have made updates to their uniforms, I don't know that there is a single professional team right now, whether it be in the NFL, whether it be in the NBA, that's wearing the best version of their uniform. And so we had a debate about the Detroit Pistons thing. I want to talk about that. We'll do that on the next show. We'll bring some other topics as well. The goal is that we're going to come back here on Monday, and we're going to go back to 2 shows a week, Monday and Thursday. Thursday, go back to the fan-led show. So I don't know, Jared, is there anything I missed, or are you ready to hop off this thing?
No, I'm good, man. That was a podcast.
I will learn for future reference some of these names. I know Amanda Hug and Kiss. Like, I get that. That's an easy one to. What was the other one though? It was the Leslie. There was something about Leslie S.
Yeah,
Leslie. What was it?
Lou Sassel.
Oh, here it is. Lou Sassel. Okay, I'm up on that one. Lou Sassel. What was the other one? The other one was who? That was from the YouTube page. Lou Sassel and Gabe Owners. Owners and Lou Sassel. I'm up to speed. I might try these out on my kids over the weekend here. So I appreciate you, Jared, for hopping in here. I appreciate all the people that spent well over an hour listening to this shit. We will be back on Monday to talk again. Jared's Love Life. Right. We'll talk professional uniforms, whatever it is we can think of. Take care, everybody.